Hi, my name is Tanya Shukla and I'm reporting here with The Driven. Now, Tim Eden and I are sitting in this Model 3 Tesla, and it's a special type of Tesla because it's a full self-driving car. Now, Tim, you've had this car for a couple of days. What are your thoughts?
Correct. Yeah, no, I think overall it's been very impressive so far. I've thrown the car at many different situations like motorways, city traffic, roundabouts, or traffic lights, all those kind of things, and it's handled it pretty much not flawlessly. A couple of mistakes which I can get into later, but overall handled things very well. I'd say it drives very conservatively and feels very safe. Maybe a little bit slower than I would drive in some situations, but definitely drives very, very well. And I've been, very impressed.
Well, we're going to test it out now, and these are going to be our live impressions.
7 minutes, and all we have to do is pop on our seatbelts and then press the Start FSD button, which is pretty exciting. So you can see there it's highlighted in blue. We just press and hold that. The car's putting its blinker on. It's just waiting a minute for a car to come past. And you can see the wheels moving. It's starting to pull out already. So here we are. We're now being driven by the Tesla with FSD software. The name Full Self-Driving Supervised implies that obviously you have to be supervising the car and watching what it's doing, which it actually works quite well. It's only bugged me a couple of times here and there. Just to pay attention to the road when I've, perhaps been looking at the screen for a few seconds too long. But generally, you don't have to actually physically hold the wheel like you do with a Tesla autopilot car, so the one with the previous version of software. So you can sort of relax your hands a bit and sort of keep them close to the wheel just in case you need to take over. But yeah, you don't have to hold the wheel all the time, which is relaxing too. You can actually sit and relax almost like a passenger. Obviously paying attention to the road. You can see situations like this, we're coming up to a right-hand turn. It knows that it's a green light, not a green arrow, so it's just waiting for the cars to come through the other direction. Yeah, whenever it's free, it just takes the turn, so just like a normal driver. Coming up to just a pedestrian crossing here with no pedestrians on the way, but I did notice on the way here today that it's actually really nice. Like it saw a pedestrian, probably 3-4 meters away from the crossing, and it thought that they were going to maybe cross, and it stopped and waited for them. So it's actually really, in that way, like a courteous driver.
Yeah.
Doesn't just sort of speed through and slip a finger like some people do.
And what's it like during low visibility weather?
I drove it around last night, and it was actually raining a bit, and at night time, and it didn't seem to make much difference. The car, handled all that situation with no problems. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, don't want to overuse the word impressive, but it is very impressive.
Yeah. In my mind, I know that this is an FSD car, but for some reason, I still think that you're driving it.
Yeah.
I think maybe because it's so smooth, there aren't any stop and starts.
Yep.
I really liked how it does all of its indicating and getting into the specific lane all by itself, which obviously it would be doing. But when you think about how you'd have to compute that, that's a pretty big challenge that the engineers have had to overcome.
Yeah, definitely.
And even to just, figure out whether a car is going straight or turning, as we saw with that green turn before.
Yep.
It's a lot of information for a vehicle to take on board, let alone, a self-driving car.
Yeah,
to make those decisions.
It's definitely, there's a lot of information and a lot of stuff going on, which is obviously why the Tesla cars are equipped with the full self-driving computers. But it's one thing once I've been driving this around for a couple of days now, it all of a sudden sort of makes me think cars that have adaptive cruise control and lane centering, all of a sudden they just kind of feel like antiquated. Like that sort of feels like going back into a car with just the manual cruise control that's not adaptive in some ways, but like a whole nother level on top of that. With this version of software, the full self-driving software on this car, it's actually a big improvement in terms of the phantom braking as well. So on the original sort of the older autopilot software, if you're trying to use it on roads like this, technically you're not really supposed to, but you can still engage it. If a car was to sort of be pulling out from the side street and going across the path of the car, it would just jam on the brakes and sort of brake really hard. But this car, it knows all that extra context, and it knows that the car is going to be pulling out and continuing and not going to be in our path. So there's obviously massive improvements in those kind of areas as well.
Now, with the FSD cars, do they also have self-parking features, or is it just self-driving?
They do have self-parking features as well. And it's, yeah, glad you mentioned that, Tanya, because that's one of the sort of areas for improvement which I had, which when we get to the end of the journey, it's a little bit awkward, and sometimes the car just kind of slows down and kind of stops. Not in the middle of the street, like it does kind of pull over a bit sometimes, but it just feels like there needs to be a smoother handoff between the full self-driving and the automatic parking feature. I mean, if they could combine the two and it sort of worked seamlessly and got to your destination and then parked for you, that would be amazing. That would be even better. But at the moment, you got to sort of grab the wheel and take over and just park it, in most cases, I would say.
And how do you find it on roads that sometimes require a bit of human cognition to figure out what lane you need to be in, how quickly to get into that lane?
Yep. I would say that's, the other area for improvement is definitely lane choice. So I've had been driving this around. It looks like I've just ticked over about 230 kilometers in the last day or two. And I would say, lane choice is something that definitely needs improvement. So I've had a couple of cases where it's been sort of a motorway junction where it's supposed to be, say, on the M5 and not the M8. People know that road. And it's gotten itself into the wrong lane and then ended up going down the wrong motorway, which wasn't the biggest deal in the world. It just kind of cost me an extra minute or two in terms of travel time. But in this case here, it's going down a section that's got arrows pointing the other direction. But okay, yeah. It does see arrows on the road and works out where it can go to, but at this point in time, it's sort of looking like it's taking us directly to the front entrance. So I'm going to hopefully have to take over and park now, otherwise we're just going to be stuck here. So.
And funnily enough, there's a Tesla right in front of us as well.
There's another Tesla right in front, so I'm not sure if that one drove itself here or not, but I'm not sure if I quite finished before, but lane choice definitely needs an improvement in the software. So there's been a couple other cases where there's been a right-hand turn lane that I've needed to be in, and the car's left it a bit too late to get into that right turn lane, and there's been too many cars banked up, so it ends up just kind of missing that turn and having to reroute somewhere else. But again, it wasn't the biggest deal for me. It just take a detour that there was another minute or two onto the trip. But if you're in a hurry and every minute counts, you might want to take over in that situation and get the car into the right lane manually until they fix that software.
Now, are there any road rules specific in Australia to FSD vehicles? Because this feels like something that lawmakers and rule makers should be aware of as cars enter the space.
Yep, definitely it's something to be aware of for sure, because it's here and it's happening already on Australian roads. So it's actually a bit of a grey area. So as we said before, the driver is technically in control and has to be ready to take over any second in case something goes wrong. So, you got to have your feet close to the pedals, your hands close to the steering wheel, just in case something happens. But the driver is still in control. So if the car was to crash or have an accident and it's your fault, you are still liable, or you'd be paying the at-fault cost for your insurance. So that's sort of where it's at in terms of that. But it is a bit of a grey area in terms of having your hands on the wheel and being in control of the car at all times. So that's something I think that's, Tesla has just sort of seen that little gap there, I guess, and gone ahead and released the software in Australia. So, it's a bit unsure. You're not really sure what it's going to do, but looks like actually it's going to pull in and park this time. Kind of park.
Kind of.
Kind of.
So, yeah. Yeah,
so it kind of pulls over and you could stop and park, but it is kind of poking out a bit, so I'm actually going to have to take over. Yeah, it would be nice if it could sort of integrate the auto park just at the end of the full self-driving destination. The fact having to sort of take over and then find a park and press the button and press the start button just sort of means it's not the smoothest.
We're currently sitting in the self-parked Tesla after going on an FSD drive. Now, my impressions are this is quite impressive technology. I'm shocked at how smooth it is, how it was able to make a lot of complicated decisions and choices. But what is the most surprising thing is to see where this goes in the future in terms of laws and regulations, because the tech is here, but it doesn't really seem like our lawmakers have caught up. Now, Tim, you've had this car for a little bit longer.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, and how did this drive compare to other drives that you've had?
I think this drive was pretty typical. Like in throughout the whole drive there, I pretty much didn't have to touch anything. Obviously took over in the Bunnings car park there when the car got confused and didn't know where to go. I took over and just sort of, pointed it in the right direction, and had to take over briefly. But I'd say that's pretty typical because, as we said before, occasionally at the end of a drive, you do have to take over and tell the car where to park or park it yourself if you need to. But I think apart from that, it was pretty typical. Like it handles most of the general driving, day-to-day driving with no issues. So very impressive. As you said, Tanya, very smooth, drives conservatively, never feel like I'm in danger driving it. So yeah, I think it's doing quite well so far, and it's actually the first release in Australia. So it can only get better and better as people give feedback and the system keeps improving with future software. So very impressed already, and keen to see it progress even further.
All right, well, this has been Tim and Tanya reporting for The Driven, and these were our drive impressions of Tesla's latest FSD that's launched in Australia.